Good morning, students. In the last class, we have studied the calculation of the molar conductivity. Fine, and we derived the formula for calculation of the dissociation constant and the equilibrium constant, right? So there is one example to describe how to calculate the limiting molar conductivity of any weak acid or any weak electrolyte. Okay, so the question is the finding out the value of the cap naught m. Cap naught m means what? Limiting molar conductivity of the acetic acid. So from the following data, here it is given, it will be given in the question like cap naught m for the sodium acetate will be given, and cap naught m NaCl will also be given, cap naught m for HCl will be given. From these three data we need to find out the cap naught m of the acetic acid. Fine. So first of all we need to find out the acetic acid cap naught m. So here it will be dissociated like CH3COH, it will be dissociated to form the acetate ion and H plus ion, right? So for the acetate ion, the limiting molar conductivity will be cap naught m CH3COH is equal to find from the data. See how many ions we need. First of all we need the CH3COO minus. So this will come from these three. Which one? This will give the CH3CO minus. Is it clear? So we'll take the CH3CO minus and individually we need to calculate the molar conductivity of the acetate ion. Is it fine? So it will be dissociated to form the CH3CO minus and Na plus. So individually both the ions will be taken. Clear, students? So last time I have told you about this thing. Right, this was acetate ion and this is the Na plus ion. Now we have got the acetate ion from the CH3CO Na. Okay, now we need H plus. So H plus will be available either in the NaCl or HCl. So obviously it will be available in the HCl. So we have to dissociate this part. So I have dissociated as a lambda naught M H plus and the lambda naught M Cl minus. So we have got CS3CO minus and H plus. Now there are two new additional things added in that. The one is the lambda naught M Na and lambda naught Cl. So we have to remove that. So that if we add these two, that time we'll get the cap naught M of the acetic acid. Is it fine? So for the removal of it, we have the third more data, that is NaCl. So it has to be dissociated. That means what? Lambda naught M Na plus and the lambda naught Cl minus. If we take these ions, Na plus will be taken from this side, so it is minus sign, and this is what? This will be the this part. Okay, student, so it is separated part. Why is it so? Once you open it, then it should also be minus. So is it clear? So this lambda naught MCl minus will also be separated. So from Na to Na will be cancelled, from Cl to Cl will be cancelled, and finally we get the value of lambda naught MCH3CO minus and lambda naught M H plus. Is it fine, student? So if we combine all these, then we'll get that what? Cap naught M CH3COH is equal to cap naught M CH3CONA plus cap naught M that HCl and cap naught M NaCl. So from this formula we can calculate the limiting molar conductivity of the acetic acid. So this was the first application of it. Now the second thing is that for the today's part is the electrolytic cells and the electrolysis. In the previous class, probably in the 10th standard, somewhere about you have studied the purification of the copper. Is it clear? So here in this preparation of the copper or the purification of the copper, what we do is we have to just construct a electrolytic cell in which the impure copper will be taken as anode and pure copper will be taken as cathode. Clear, student? So the battery is connected to that accordingly. Now when the current is not passed, then the things which I have taken, that impure copper here as a anode strip, and the pure copper will be taken as a cathode strip, and electrolyte will be taken in it's a combination of the three materials. The one will be the copper sulfate, and second will be the distilled water, and the third is a few drops of the few ml of the H2SO4 concentrated H2. It will be acting as a good electricity conductor, right? So these three combinations will be taken. The first one is the copper sulfate. The copper sulfate will be dissociated when it is dissolved in the water. So it is what? Copper ion and the sulfate ion. I'm talking about the electrolyte. Okay. Now if you take the H2SO4, then H2SO4 will also be dissociated to form the 2H plus and SO4 2 minus, and water will also be dissociated to form H plus and OH minus. So these are the ions produced when the current is not passed. But now when you pass the current, that time what happened? The cations will migrate to cathode and anions will migrate to anode. Is it clear, students? So here copper and H plus ion will migrate to the cathode. and SO4 and OH minus will migrate to the anode. Clear, student? So now what will happen when these reach to the cathode? So you will see that the copper and hydrogen, copper is placed below the hydrogen in the summary in the reactivity series. The reduction potential of the copper will be high. Reduction potential means what? If you compare the hydrogen and copper, then copper will have the more tendency to gain the electron rather than losing electron, because hydrogen is more reactive. So hydrogen can donate the electron, so copper obviously have to gain the electron. So the reduction potential of the copper will be more as compared to the hydrogen. So copper has been reduced, like Cu2 plus, it gains the 2 electron from the cathode and it has converted into the copper, reduced copper, and this copper will be deposited on the cathode. Is it fine? So the copper which is produced from the reaction, this copper will be deposited around it. Is it fine? Slowly and gradually what happens? It will become thicker. And why it gets thicker? From which part the other copper will come? That is the most important. So now the same thing is that what are the reaction at the anode? So reaction at the anode means what? And here you'll see that copper, this impure copper, it will come in the form of the copper ion. Why is it will come in the copper ion? Because from the solution the copper ion has been deposited on the cathode. So the solution does not have the copper. The solution need the copper ion. So the sulfate ion will go to the this one impure copper and bring the copper ion in the solution. So the same thing, once the copper ion will come in the solution, equivalent amount of the copper will be deposited. Slowly and slowly this will become thinner and this will become thicker. Is it fine? This will be thinner and finally it will become thicker. So what will be the reaction of anode? So you will see that the copper that was an impure copper, it has donated the electron, it has converted into copper ion, and these copper ion will come in the solution and equivalent amount of the copper will be deposited on the cathode. Fine, student. Slowly and gradually I told you that the impure copper will no more be there on the anode because it has been transferred on the cathode and leaving behind the anodic mud. Understood? So this is the one of the way of the carrying out of the electrolysis. Clear? So here it is that if we increase the current value or the charge value, then what will happen? In the less time period the copper will be deposited, right? That means the mass deposited on the cathode will be depending upon the charge passed. If the less charge is passed, then less amount will be deposited, or we can say it will take the more time. Or if you pass the huge amount of the charge, then the reaction will be faster and more copper will be deposited on that. Is it clear? So this was that part with the mass will be deposited on that. So from that the Faraday has take out the two laws, had derived the two laws, and these are called as the Faraday's laws of electrolysis. The first one was that I told you that mass deposited on the cathode will be depending upon the charge. So I have taken this equation. Mass is directly proportional to Q. Q is the charge. So more is the charge, more will be the mass deposited on the cathode. Is it clear? So you can take the W here also. Now when you remove this proportionality sign, you will get the electrochemical equivalent. It is a constant. Okay, so M is equal to ZQ and Q is equal to IT that you have studied in the 10th standard. Okay, while substituting all these values, we get the what? M is equal to ZIT. Fine. Z is what? Electrochemical equivalent, and I is the electric current, and T is the time period in which it has the current has been passed. Okay, so this is the formula for calculation of the mass. Is it fine, students? And Z is called as electrochemical equivalent. So this is called as the first law of Faraday. Is it clear, student? That means mass deposited on the cathode is directly proportional to the charge passed. More charge, more mass will be deposited on the cathode. Okay, now come to the second law. When 3-4 cells are connected in the series, if you connect any cell in the series, then you know that potential difference will be varied and the electric current will become same. Okay, the same amount of the current is passed through all the cells. So suppose I have taken the 3 cells, cell number 1, 2 and 3. One is having the copper, second is having the silver, and third one is having the nickel. Fine, students. And the cathode are represented as green. Okay, and anode are represented as the black color. Is it fine, students? So for the copper, if you pass the same amount of the current, then same mass will be deposited on the copper as well as on the silver and the nickel. Answer is no, because everything depends upon their nature. Everything depends upon the these metals nature, because all are having the different reduction potential capacity. So according to their potentiality, you will see that mass will be deposited, right? So if you pass the same amount of the current, and when all the cells are connected in the series, then the mass deposited on the cathode will be in the proportion of their electrochemical equivalent. Understood? Suppose the electrochemical equivalent for this one is Z1 and the value is coming like 10. Okay, 10 gram equivalent. Okay, and for the silver it is coming, suppose Z2, and it is we take an example like 20. Okay, and for the Z3 it is a 30. Okay, this is that. So 10, 20, 30. Then what will be the ratio? 1:2:3. Right? So whenever you are taking anything, the ratio will be 1:2:3 only. Is it clear, student? Every time whenever you are connecting all these three cells, the ratio will become 1, 2, 3 only, because the value will be constant for that. That electrochemical constant will be same means it will not change for every metal at particular temperature. I hope you understood this thing. So this is called second law of Faraday. That means mass deposited on the cathode when the cells are connected in the series and the same amount of the current is passed, then it will be deposited in the proportion of their electrochemical equivalent. This is the second law of Faraday. Okay, now come to the calculation of this Faraday. So suppose silver is gaining, so we are taking some example like we need to calculate the Faradays and what will be the value of the Faraday. Last time we have used it. So Ag plus, this is a silver ion, and silver ion will gain 1 electron. So after gaining the 1 electron, it will be converted into Ag. So you will see that 1 mole of the Ag plus ion will be taken and 1 mole of the electrons will be taken, and Ag will be 1 mole. Here. And 1 Faraday is equal to how many? 96487. Is it clear? 1 mole of charge is equal to 96487. Is it clear? So here 1 mole of electron, that means 1 Faraday charge has been passed. If 2 mole of electrons are there, then 2 Faraday charge will be taken. Fine. So I have calculated here 1 mole of copper ion, 2 mole of the electron and 1 mole of the copper. Is it? That means 2 mole of electrons will be gained by the 1 mole of the copper and converted into that part. So we need to multiply the Faraday's constant by 2, because 2 is the stoichiometric number. If had it been 3, then we have to multiply it by 3. So 3 into this one. Then how this value came? This 96487. So here 1 Faraday is equal to number of electrons present in the 1 mole and charge of 1 electron. Is it fine? Number of electrons present in 1 mole multiplied by the charge on 1 electron. So by this method we can calculate the 1 Faradays. So 1 Faraday, the formula is that, okay, so number of electrons in 1 mole is equal to 6.022 into 10 to the power 23, that is the Avogadro's number, and charge of electron will be taken as 1.602 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb. When you multiply this thing, then we get the value of 96487 coulomb per mole. This is the 1 Faraday's value. Is it fine? So here it is 1 Faraday, this one, and here it is 2 Faraday, the 2 into this one. Is it clear, students? So this is the way of the calculation of the number of electrons and the Faraday's.